many business oriented lectures and so on and so forth, I'm going to present Nyaya Sutras and trying to tell you the connection between Nyaya Sutras, which was written more than 2000 years ago, and today's modern business practices. I hope I'll be able to establish that one with you. So that's the reason I am here, guys. I definitely have a very, very limited knowledge on this, and I'm enlightened by listening to other speakers here. So without any further ado, I'm going to talk about what I kind of intend to present. So Nyaya Sutras is a system of a philosophy of logic. It's Indian logic, as you can see. It's first written by Gautama. Gautama wrote it 2nd century, 3rd century BC. So this is more than, more than 2000 years ago. And then Nyaya Sutras got developed, and there are more and more authors who came into it and wrote Nyaya Sutras. Nyaya is the term, if you literally look into it, it's really the term that has to, if I translate, and I have to tell you that English is not necessarily the best language when you translate Sanskrit, because Sanskrit encompasses so much knowledge there that one particular word is not justifying Nyaya. But if I have to, then Nyaya would be something which is conclusions by reason and argument. I find when I was reading Nyaya Sutras and Gautama's Nyaya Sutras, I think Nyaya has something to do with justice and equity. If you think about the global situation right now, justice and equity are the two terms I think at the end of it is going to be so very important. So if I have to convert Nyaya to an English translation, I would rather say it's justice and equity. So it's right or just, and so Nyaya as a system has come to mean the science of correct reasoning. Now that's the definition again. That's the definition, my friends, that's given by the English erudite scholars, and not necessarily is a good transformation of the Sanskrit word. What's there in Nyaya Sutras? Just the summary of it I'm talking about, the 4 methods of knowledge. Knowledge comes with, first there is pratyakho, as we call it in Bengali, or pratyakshya, that is perception. Then comes inference, anumana. Then comes analogy or comparisons, which is upamana. And then comes verbal knowledge or testimony, that's shabdo. So if I look into it a little bit more, I can tell more about it. The first one is perception, or pratyakho. What is perception? Perception is that knowledge which arises from the contact of a sense with its object. Something that we sense, something that we touch, something that we feel, something that's tangible. It's something like perception. Then comes inference. Inference is when there is a perception and then you try to draw a conclusion by looking into it. And there are 3 aspects of it that I can talk about: a priori, a posteriori, and the common sense, or the commonly seen one. What is a priori perception? It's really like, if there is enough, so if there is cloud, this is monsoon, say this is monsoon back in India, and there is cloud, the perception or a priori inference is that it will rain. A cloud justifies a conclusion that it will rain. What is a posteriori thing in terms of inference? It's really like you are traveling and you see that the river banks are flooded. If the river banks are flooded, you draw a conclusion that it rained before. That's really again a posteriori. And commonly seen is you see a fire and you say, or you see a smoke and you say that there is fire somewhere. So that's really the inference that I'm going to talk about in detail just in a bit. Comparison is the knowledge of a thing through its similarity to another thing previously well known. And finally, we come to word, which is a verbal testimony, that is the instructive assertion of a reliable person, of a reliable testimony. So this is what the 4 knowledge instruments that were used in Nyaya Sutras. So I'll give you an example of inference right now. And this is directly from Gautama, guys. This is not what I have established. And reading Gautama and understanding, like something like 2,300 years ago, it's so deep thinking, and which we can use right now. Unfortunately, I think in the Occidental world, there is not enough study that has been conducted in terms of understanding Indian philosophy, which comes under the umbrella of Hinduism, which comes under the umbrella of being Hindu. And that part of it is somewhere missing. If you really look into Western philosophy, you will find that Western philosophy heavily relies on the Greek philosophers. So you will read Socrates, you will read Aristotle, you will read Hippocrates. Hardly ever you will read Indian philosophy, which is so enriching and which can contribute so much, even in the more capitalistic framework, if I may say. So the first one, in terms of example, that was given by Gautama is known as, pratigya. And I'm using Bengali term. If you see, pratigya over here, which is proposition, there is fire on a hill. So that's the pratigya. That's what we can see. Reason is hetu, because there is smoke there. That's why there is fire. Example is udharana. Udharana is wherever there is fire, there is smoke. So you are deductive, you are drawing a conclusion. There is a deduction here. Application, which is upanya, there is smoke on the hill. And finally, there is conclusion or nigamana. Therefore, there is a fire on the hill. That's how the deductive reasoning in the Indian logic system was established, that there is a fire on the hill because there is smoke there. Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. There is smoke on the hill, therefore there is a fire on the hill. That's how it has been established in the Indian logic. And again, my friends, my colleagues, this is something which is written 2,300 years ago. So you have to understand how in-depth the knowledge was to understand and to apply that even in kind of today's context. So this is what the inference was written in this form in Gautama's Nyaya Sutras. Now, organizational management, I'll skip that part. I'll come to this one. So today in business, what we do, and again, in business today, the motive is so different from being metaphysical. The motive has nothing to do with being metaphysical. The motive has to do everything with profit. So to understand profit, whenever there is a problem, they say that classify the problem, then define the problem, find an answer to the problem, find the department who can solve that particular problem, testing the validity of the findings via implementation. Are findings effective? So think about this in this way. COVID-19 came to all of us, befallen to all of us back in February, March of 2020. When that happened, all these companies, the brick and mortar stores, the stores that we go to, all these stores, they have to change their method, their modus operandi. They have to change their method of operation. They have to say, okay, our customers are not going to come to the stores right now. How can I sell the products? They came back to all the smartphones. And right now, from my smartphone, I can go to an app, I can buy the products, and it will be delivered to my doorstep. So that's how they have defined a problem. They have came to a problem, and they have came to a conclusion. Find the similarity between what I've talked about just one slide before and this one right now. So this is again what happened. That's the pratigya, hetu, what is the reason? What do we do? That's the upamana. And the conclusion is we need to develop something which again customers can take home with. So there is a huge similarity. There's a huge synergism between the Nyaya Sutras and the modern management, the art of modern management. That's what I've established over here, that the Nyaya inference steps, pratigya, can be right now transformed to classify and define the problem. Hetu, which is what's the reason that will give you to an answer. So specify the answer. Udharana is the example. So building into decision so that we can make a decision looking into examples. Upanya is testing the validity. Can we have any kind of comparison to understand what's going on over here? And then Nigamana is conclusion. So again, Nyaya Sutras, which was written 2,300 years ago, has such an important contextual scenario even in the modern business management. And that kind of tells me that this is a hidden treasure for all the academicians who want to invest in social science and humanities and have not explored this huge vastness of Indian philosophy. Then we can look into. And so my presentation has, I'm not saying it's at all spiritual. I'm saying it has the connection between the ancient Indian logic and the modern art of business management. I'll stop here, and I look forward to any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you.